My goodness. Okay, I think that's better. Oh my goodness. There's no problem. First Kings 18. Am I in the right spot? Oh man. First Kings 18. Okay, right here. Hey. Oh my gosh, it's extra hot in here. Okay. Hey, good morning, even though it's almost afternoon, really. Oh, well, I'm glad that you're able to catch one finally. So that's good. I don't want to be on here a long time, but I also want to be on here long enough for you guys to understand what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to start now because it's already been a minute. So this word is on 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 44. So I'm not going to read. I just want to give the word. Okay. So I titled it Look Again because in that section of the chapter, right, Elijah told his servant, look, I hear a sound of abundance of rain, and I want you to go and look toward the sea. And so Elijah told his servant to go look toward the sea, and his servant went, and he kept coming back like, look, I don't see anything, right? 6 times he went and looked toward the sea. He didn't see anything. But the 7th time he finally went out and he saw this tiny cloud the size of a man's fist. And he ran back and told Elijah, I see a cloud the size of a man's fist out there. And so what I got from that is the reason why I titled it Look Again is because I realized that for the servant to even see that tiny cloud the size of a man's fist, he had to have the faith to believe that that tiny cloud could give an abundance of rain like Elijah said. Because imagine if he had went out there, right? Because sometimes what we do is when God tells us something, right? And so remember, Elijah had said, I hear a sound of abundance of rain. Elijah didn't even see the rain, but he heard it. He heard the abundance of rain and he went and he prayed, right? And so what I got from that is a lot of times we can hear the things that God is telling us, right? And we may pray for it, but we don't even have the faith to believe that a big thing can come from the tiny breakthroughs that we see. And so it was made clear to me that the servant had to have enough faith to even go back and tell Elijah about this tiny cloud that he saw. Because he could have saw it and been like, well, I do see this little cloud, but Elijah said it was going to be an abundance of rain. Can this little cloud even produce that much rain? And he could have went back again and been like, you know what? Nah, I still ain't see nothing. But he had the faith to believe that even the small breakthrough, the small cloud could produce an abundance of rain like Elijah had told him. And so this word is to encourage you to look again. The small breakthrough, the tiny thing that you saw that maybe you looked at it and was like, yeah, I see a difference, but this small thing can't possibly bring about my restoration, right? This small thing can't possibly bring forth this huge promise that God has, because sometimes the abundance is in the small things, right? Sometimes you don't need this big, huge, miraculous thing to happen in order for the abundance to come. And so the servant's faith had to match Elijah's faith, right? Because like I said, he saw the cloud and he saw how tiny it was. And so because of the size of it, he could have went back and not said anything at all, because in his own human thoughts, right, he could have been like, well, this cloud doesn't even look big enough to produce that much rain. So he could have went back and said, you know what, I don't see it. But he had the faith to perceive it, right? And he had to go back 7 times. Elijah kept telling him, go look again, right? And so what I got from that is I can equate that to prayer, right? Where it's it seems like we keep praying constantly for the same things and we're not seeing anything, right? But maybe it's you, right? Because when the servant went out to look over the sea, I'm sure that he kept looking in the same spot, right? Well, I don't see nothing. And then he kept running back to Elijah well, I don't see anything. There's nothing there, right? Change your perspective. Because what I'm assuming could have happened is he could have went out and was like, you know what? He wouldn't tell me to keep coming back if there was nothing to be seen. So he went and he stood in a different position, right? Maybe he faced a different way where he could see the cloud. Because where he was standing before, the way he was looking before, he wasn't able to perceive it there. So he had to change his position, right? He had to change the way that he was looking over the sea in order to see that tiny cloud. And he had the faith to believe, you know what? I do see it. I do see this little cloud. Maybe this is what he was talking about. The scripture is 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 44. Right? So he had to change his position when he went to go look over the sea. That final time that he went to go look, he saw something. But why did he see it? Because one thing I asked God, right? I was like, well, God, how come he didn't see it the other 6 times? Right? And it was because he didn't have the faith to perceive it. He didn't have the faith to see it. Right? He didn't have the faith to see it. And that's what it's about. Do you have the faith to perceive this breakthrough that's about to come? Because it was a tiny cloud, like I said. And sometimes we see the small things and we just toss it away. Like, okay, that doesn't matter. Yeah, I saw this, but that's not it. No, that's it. That's what it's going to come from. That tiny cloud is what it's going to come from. So my question to you is, what has God shown you that you have just chalked away to being nothing, right? What has he shown you, right? You have to look again. What did God tell you? What did he show you? You have to change your perspective, but you have to have the faith to perceive it. And sometimes it may take that extra prayer. Sometimes you may have to pray 7 times for something, because I'm sure the servant was tired of looking, right? I'm sure he was tired. Like, well, you had me go back 5 and 6 times now. I'm not seeing anything. So guess what? It wasn't something different that Elijah had to do. Elijah didn't tell him, okay, well, just sit down since you're not seeing nothing. No, the servant was the one who had to change something in him. His position had to change because he knew that if he kept going back to Elijah, what was Elijah going to say? Go again. Go look again. Right? Because Elijah knew what it was. Elijah had the faith to hear it and to see it and to pray for it. Right? The servant was the one who had to change his position. Because a lot of times we look to God like, well, God, you're going to have to tell me something different because I'm doing what you told me to do and I'm not seeing nothing. But it is not up to God to change his will and his thought on it and the way he sees things. It's up to you to do that. Just like the servant had to do. Because like I said, the servant could have went again and been like, well, dang, I don't see nothing. And went right back to Elijah. Well, I don't see nothing. But no, the servant realized, well, let me change my perspective, right? Let me go stand over here and look at it this way instead, right? He had to change his perspective. He had to look at it through the eyes of God. And in this story, he had to look at it through the eyes of Elijah. Elijah said there was an abundance of rain. And he knew Elijah was hearing from God, right? He knew Elijah's posture in it. He knew Elijah's faith. His faith had to match up with that. So when he went to go look towards the sea, right? Because one thing I thought about too was like when the servant went to look towards the sea, was he looking just for the rain? Right? Like, well, I don't see no rain. Right? And so maybe his perspective was, you know what? Maybe I don't need to look for the rain. Let me look for the cloud, because maybe there's something else I got to be looking for, not just the rain. And so a lot of times we look for the big breakthrough first, right? We look for the immediate big breakthrough. But that little cloud that he saw, the size of a man's fist, turned into a heavy rainstorm. A cloud that if somebody saw, if we walked outside and we saw a little cloud like that, would we be like, it's about to rain today? No. But the servant had the faith to be like, you know what, Elijah, I do see it. I see the cloud. And what Elijah say? All right, that's it. That's all that God needed was the little cloud to bring this abundance of rain. So the Lord doesn't want you to miss out on breakthrough just because it's not the size that you need it to be or that you think it has to be. You need to go look again. What changes and differences have you seen, right? And then once you realize what the Lord has been showing you, do you have the faith to believe that the restoration or your promise can come out of that tiny little thing that you may not see the value in? The servant had to see the value in that little cloud. He had to have the faith to believe that it was valuable, that it was big enough to do what Elijah said it was going to do. And so you have to look again. The Lord wants you to look again. Remember, the final time that the servant went to go look over the sea is when he saw that tiny cloud. You need to change your perspective. What has the Lord been showing you that maybe you kind of were like, okay, yeah, I do see a change, but you didn't really You didn't look deep enough into it. You didn't really understand it. That's what the Lord wants you to look at again. And you have to have the faith to believe, the faith to match up with it, right? Because one thing that I saw, like, when Elijah first told the servant, like, okay, I hear a sound of abundance of rain. He heard it. And what's the next thing that Elijah did after he heard it? He prayed. He got down on his knees and he prayed earnestly. And even when the servant came back to Elijah and said, well, I don't see anything, did he give up? Did Elijah stop believing that the rain would come? No. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not coming, right? So you have to have that earnest faith, like that consistent faith. Because like I said, the servant went back 7 times. And of course, he was probably tired after the third, right? Like, dang, he got me going back up here again. And I already told him I don't see anything. Right? And I know we get weary in waiting, right? We get weary in well-doing and in praying. But if the servant had never saw the cloud, then what? If the servant had went back to Elijah and said, well, sorry, I don't see it, then what? Right? And honestly, I'm going to be real with you, because Elijah had the faith to believe. So I feel like the reason why Elijah kept telling the servant to go back was because he needed the servant to have faith. Elijah didn't tell him to go back just for the heck of it. Elijah was telling him to go back because he knew the servant needed that faith. Elijah already knew. He knew already, I pray for this rain, it's going to come. But I need the servant to do it too. I need him to be on my level, on my belief level, you know? He needed that faith, not Elijah. God doesn't need that faith. You need it. The prayer is for you. You need to go look again. What did the Lord show you? What have you been seeing in your situation that maybe you felt like it wouldn't make a difference, right? What have you been seeing? Because that is what's going to make the difference. That's where your abundance and your restoration will come from. That's the start to it. It got to start somewhere, right? So don't count your small victories and your small blessings as nothing. You got to have the faith to believe that if God can cause this small breakthrough and this small victory, he can cause the big victory to come too. The big breakthrough is right on the cusp. Because how soon after did that storm come, right? When he saw that cloud. Because as soon as he saw the cloud and he ran back to Elijah, like, yeah, I see that. He was like, all right, go tell Ahab to get his chariots ready before the rain come. And what happened? The rain came right after, right? Right after he saw that small breakthrough. Change your perspective. Look again. Go look again. What did God tell you? What did he show you? And then you pray for that, right? And you receive it. You got to have the faith to receive that the big breakthrough can come out of those small things. Those small victories matter too, right? So like I said, the scripture is 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 44, right? I'm going to get off now because I don't want to be on too long, right? But that matters, right? The small beginnings, the small things. You got to have the faith like this servant did to even run back and be like, you know what, God? I see what you're showing me. I see the breakthrough. I see the changes. And you got to have the faith to believe that. Can you run back to God with the small things that you saw? Just like the servant ran back to Elijah saying that he saw this small cloud the size of a fist. He had the faith to believe that the abundance would come out of that. Because like I said, sometimes you look for that big cloud. Sometimes you look for the huge dark cloud and we're like, oh yeah, there it is. But can you see the value in the small things too? Can you see the value in the small breakthrough and the small victory? Can you see the abundance, or can you hear it like Elijah said? He heard it before he saw it. Can you really hear God and receive what he's telling you? Like, can you truly do that the same way Elijah did? It's all about your faith, that earnest prayer. Because like I said, if the servant had stopped going back, he would have never seen it. He would have never had the faith to believe, like, oh, snap. I do see this little cloud. Let me go back and tell Elijah. Because he didn't see it before. The other 6 times when he prayed about it or when he went to go look, he didn't see it, right? He didn't see it. So the first 6 times that you prayed for something and God was like, it's coming. Maybe you didn't see it. But this last final time, when you go back to God and you say, you know what, God, I'm looking for what you're trying to tell me. You need to be in a space to receive it, and you need to have faith to accept it. It's the earnest prayer that makes you see results. And one of the references in the Bible, I believe, was James chapter 5, verses 17 and 18. That was the reference. And he was talking about earnest prayer and how it brings about results. When you're consistent and you're earnest about something, you're persistent in it, that's what brings the results. Because the servant kept going back. Elijah said, go again. And a lot of times you go to God like, God, I don't see nothing. And what God tell you? Look again. Because you know God can't lie. So when you go to God and you're like, well, God, I've been praying about this thing and I don't see nothing happening. Well, do you? Because I've been showing you, I've been telling you what's to come. I've been telling you that it's yours, right? But you don't have the faith to even believe it. You don't even have the faith to see it because it's not as big as you want it to be, right? It's not as big as you think it got to be in order to bring an abundance. Come on now. Look again. The Lord wants you to go back and look again. All right? So I'll see you guys in my next video because I've been on here. Oh, hold on, y'all. I'm trying to see all the comments. That's right. What does it say? He kept going. Movement. That's right. He kept going. He didn't stop. He didn't stop. Even when he saw, even when he didn't see nothing, right? Like, and that's what I'm saying because, like I said, when I do Bible study with the Lord, right, I ask questions as if, you know, I ask questions that I feel like somebody would ask if they had just picked up the Bible and read that scripture, right? Let's say you brand new in your faith and you're reading that scripture. What I asked, I said, well, Lord, how come he didn't see it the first 6 times? Because it was there the whole time. We know it was there. Because when God says a thing, it's already done, right? So we knew the cloud was there. We knew it was already there. And so that's when the Lord told me because he didn't have the faith to see it. It was already there. He just didn't have the faith for his eyes to receive it, right? He couldn't perceive it. But that 7th time was when he had the faith to be like, you know what? Elijah keeps sending me out here. So maybe there's something I'm not doing. Or maybe there's something I'm not seeing. I need to look at it a different way. So the way I looked at it is if somebody's telling me to keep going out and look for something, right, and it's not working, I need to do something different to get different results. So I said, okay, well, maybe instead of him looking this way, he turned this way this time. And that's when he finally saw it. He had the faith to even look in a different direction. Because he had to have the faith to do that. Because I'm sure he was thinking like, dang, why am I doing this? I feel stupid right now. I keep going out here and I don't see nothing. He had to have the faith to even be like, you know what? Let me look a different way. Like maybe if I turn this way, I'll see what Elijah's talking about. Change your perspective. You got to look again. Change your perspective in this situation. Because when you finally change your perspective, then your faith may shift too. There has to be a shift in you. There has to be a shift in you. There is nothing else that God can do, right? You're expecting God to do something different. No, it's in you. It's in you. Like the servant had to change. Elijah didn't change his posture. Elijah was like, go look again. Look again. 6 times Elijah was like, go look again. And that's what God does, right? But he's like, well, I already told you. Go look again. Because I showed you and I told you. Now it's on you because what else can he do? It's in you, right? It's in your faith and in your posture and in your perception of it, the way you perceive it. So you got to go look again, right? Go look again. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.